How to prepare sashes for a new finish and glazing putty. It is at this point that the sashes can be worked in a designated work area. There is also work to do on the window frame, but we'll address that in later steps. Now that the sashes have been removed, they are ready to be prepared for new finish and for new glazing by removing the existing finish and the existing glazing. If hardware exists on the sashes, remove what is feasible and set aside for later maintenance, making sure to mark and store the pieces for proper reinstallation. Free the glass. To free the glass from the rabbet and the sash, the glazing and the glazing points will need to be removed. Because removing the glazing is a somewhat difficult task, this step may take some time, so don't rush. Glazing that is failing may fall right off, making the task much easier, so start where there are missing sections of the glazing. If the glazing is intact, one technique is to score the glazing every quarter inch and tap it out with a chisel. Boiled linseed oil can be applied to the glazing and, after sitting for about 12 hours, should soften the old glazing enough to be removed. Heat or steam can be an option to soften the glazing, but take caution not to apply heat directly to the glass, as it'll be more prone to breaking. A wide, flat putty knife against the glass may be helpful to deflect the heat. Once all glazing is removed, look for the glazing points that hold the glass into the rabbet, and remove them slowly with a chisel or putty knife. Slowly ease the glass from the rabbet and mark and store the glass for proper reinstallation. Specific to the bottom sash, there may be a slot cut into the meeting rail that the glass is inserted up into. Take caution to ease the glass out of that slot. Remove excess glazing on the glass with a razor scraper. It is important to mark and store glass for proper reinstallation. Reglazing will happen later, so for now, store the labeled glass in a safe place. If you're not interested in preserving the historic glass, place the sash over a garbage can and break the glass out by scoring an X onto the glass with a glass cutter and tapping from underneath with the handle of a hammer. This method could save time on glass removal, but it will incur the expense of replacement glass. If the glass is merely cracked, you may be able to salvage some of it to use when replacing smaller panes. Remove old finish from sashes. Now that the sashes have no glass, you're ready to remove the old finishes. However, this production does not include instruction, only an overview. Be aware that the potential presence of lead paint, and take the proper precaution when removing old finishes. There are several techniques for paint removing, including electric heat gun, non-caustic strippers, steam, scraping, and infrared heat. You may decide to use one or several techniques, but first learn the pros and cons of each. After all paint is removed, sand the wood with 80 to 120 grit sandpaper, then vacuum all surfaces, wipe clean, and dry with a clean tack cloth. Make necessary wood repairs. After the finish has been removed, you may need to make necessary wood repairs to deteriorating components. However, this production does not include instruction, only an overview. Wood repairs can include structural mortise and tenon joints, epoxy work, filling holes, and making new replicated parts. Please note that some of these repairs may be best done by a professional. If you come across rotted wood, instead of replacing the damaged wood, you can repair the wood with epoxy. Wood epoxies are used for reproducing deteriorated or missing wood parts. They are especially valuable for parts that cannot be replaced because of size, shape, or other reasons. The objects restored with epoxy become fully functional parts and are often stronger and more durable than the original. Prepare the rabbet. All old glazing will need to be removed from the rabbet. After the old glazing is removed, it's a good idea to seal the rabbet prior to setting the glass to help protect the wood from moisture and to keep oil and the glazing from becoming absorbed into the wood. Boiled linseed oil or shellac are traditional sealants. Apply sealer with a small paintbrush and allow to soak into the dry wood until none is sitting on top. Follow the manufacturer's instruction for additional application and drying instructions. Another option for sealing the rabbet is to use the selected primer. Do not use both boiled linseed oil and primer. Choose one or the other. Take care to fully coat the rabbet because that is the place where moisture typically collects. Prime the sash, interior, exterior. It's more practical to prime and apply the first coat of finish to the sash before reinstalling the glass. You will need to do research to choose an appropriate primer and compatible finish. Options for primer can include a high-quality oil alkyd primer or high-quality water latex containing 100% acrylic resin content. The 100% acrylic latex is gaining in preference because it's breathable, has good coverage, has good color retention, and is environmentally acceptable. Some primers can be used on both interior and exterior applications, and others require separate. If you intend to paint the interior of the sashes, prime both interior and exterior at the same time. If you will be leaving the interior of the sashes natural wood, make sure not to get any primer past the glass rabbet. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for application and drying instructions. Do not prime the vertical edges of the sashes or they may bind to the track, and do not prime the bottom of the bottom sash or the top of the top sash. Apply the first finish coat. Once the primer has dried, apply the first finish coats. Most finishes will require a separate interior and exterior product. Options for the finish coat can include a high-quality oil alkyd paint, a high-quality water latex paint containing 100% acrylic resin content, or a natural wood finish preserved with linseed oil.